This story opens with Jessie, an aspiring model who has just arrived in LA, covered in blood and sprawled across some furniture. She is being photographed by a psychopathic-looking Dean, a young amateur photographer whom she met on the internet. After the shoot, she tries to remove the fake blood when makeup artist Ruby offers to assist her. Ruby learns Jessie just moved into town, that this is her first photo shoot, and she is currently staying at a junky fleabag dump of a motel in Pasadena. Ruby offers Jessie friendship and invites her to a party later that night. At the party, Jessie meets two vapid models in Sarah and Gigi. They are both full of self-importance while being cold, bitchy, and overly inquisitive. Gigi yaps on about nothing, and Sarah implies that she is there to sleep her way as far as she can go up the social hierarchy. Despite the detached greeting Jessie receives from the girls, she seemingly has fun and enjoys the performance art piece of a woman bound and floating over a stage to the pulse of techno and strobe lights. The following morning, Jessie has an interview at a modeling agency. Her interviewer, Roberta Hoffman, showers her with compliments and predicts that she will be great if she can take the pressure. She tells her that Jack MacArthur, a famous photographer, is in town and has agreed to take some shots of her. When Jessie informs Roberta she's only 16, Roberta just gets a parental consent form and has Jessie forge the signature and tells her to start pretending she's 19. Jessie celebrates her signing by driving up to the Hollywood Hills and hanging out with Dean. Jessie talks about how she's always felt talentless but thinks she can make money off her looks despite that. She wants Dean's advice and asks if she should really lie about her age. Dean encourages her to do what she thinks is right. He has a crush on her, but is cautious due to her young age, but soon throws caution to the wind when he sees an opening and tries to kiss her, but he is rejected. Man, she totally set him up there. Back at the motel, she thinks someone has broken into her room. She informs the unpleasant manager Hank, who with Mikey inspects the room. They find a mountain lion has snuck into her room through the balcony door she left open. A pissed-off Hank demands she pay for the damages to the door that Mikey kicked in. The next day, Jessie has a photo shoot with Jack the photographer. After Ruby does her makeup, Jack sees her and announces the shoot will be a closed set, leaving him completely alone with Jessie. He tells her to take off her clothes and proceeds to rub her body with gold paint, then shoots the session. Afterward, she meets up with Ruby, who has been waiting on her, and tells her to be careful around guys like Jack, who make false promises of work. Ruby gives Jessie her number to call if she needs anything, day or night. Ruby meets up with Gigi and Sarah for a lunch they don't eat. They bitch about Jessie getting the shoot with Jack so quickly. Ruby says that there is something rather unique with Jessie, which unsurprisingly fires off pangs of jealousy in Gigi and Sarah. Jessie is at a Roberto Sarno casting call the next day. Sarah is also present and seems resentful of Jessie's presence. Sarno is unimpressed and bored by most of the models, but takes on an immediate infatuation with Jessie as she auditions and looks like he is about to blow his load. Jessie gets hired, but Sarah is let go, which stings her ego. Shortly afterward, Sarah has a tantrum in the restroom and rage smashes the mirror. Jessie walks in and tries to reassure her, but she's not interested and asks her what it feels like to walk into a room and be loved by everyone. Jessie says, "It's everything." Jessie accidentally cuts her hand on a mirror shard, and Sarah like a freak licks the blood from her hand as if it was the fountain of youth. Jessie panics and gets the hell out of there. Back at the motel, Dean arrives with flowers for Jessie, but she passes out in front of him and has a vision of 3 blue triangles. He looks after her and pays the loutish Hank for the broken door. As a way of thanks, Hank taunts Dean by claiming Jessie isn't worth it if he isn't having sex with her, going so far as to offer him a 13-year-old runaway in the room next to Jessie's, which disgusts Dean, but the writer thought it very edgy. Back in the room, he removes a shard of glass from her hand. At the Sarno fashion show, Gigi runs into Jessie and does her usual rude big girl routine, nagging Jessie and reeling off her cosmetic surgeries. Sarno chooses Jessie as the coveted closing model, much to Gigi's dismay. As the show begins, Jessie has an intense hallucination where she sees mirror images of herself making out with herself inside another blue triangle. It's all very artsy. After the show, Jessie brings Dean to a private event with Sarno and the models. The conversation comes to Gigi's cosmetic surgery with Sarno saying how obvious it is, whereas Jesse is a natural beauty. Dean argues with him over claims that beauty is everything. When Sarno insists Dean would have never bothered with Jesse if she wasn't beautiful, he gets mad and leaves, but Jesse refuses to leave with him. That night, Jesse dreams that Hank comes into her room and slowly pushes a knife into her open mouth in a suggestive way while demanding she open it wider. She wakes up on the floor to hear someone trying to enter her room. After failing to get through her door, she hears the intruder break into the room next door and she listens to the alleged 13-year-old being raped. Disturbed by this, she calls Ruby, because why would she call the cops? Ruby invites her to stay the night at an elegant mansion that she is house-sitting. Ruby comforts her, then slowly tries to force herself on her and says, "Let's be friends." Jesse assures her she is straight and no homo, adding that she is still a virgin. When Ruby tries again to force the sex thing, Jesse has to push her off. In the morning, Ruby goes to her second job at the morgue, where she does makeup for bodies awaiting their funeral. After suffering the female version of blue balls, she imagines one of the female corpses is Jesse and pleasures herself while on top of it. Back at the mansion, Jesse puts on a gown laid out for her and spends the day applying makeup that looks like she used Homer Simpson's makeup shotgun. Ruby returns home to find Jesse standing on a diving board above an empty swimming pool. Jesse crawls up her own ass and tells Ruby that people have always wanted her looks and goes so far as to say some people would do anything to achieve her beauty. Jesse retreats back inside the house and finds Gigi and Sarah there. She asks the two girls if they're having a party, but they attack her viciously. They chase Jesse outside, where Ruby pushes her into the deep end of the pool. The fall kills Jesse and the three girls proceed to eat parts of her and bathe in her blood. Well, I didn't see that coming. Did you? The next day, Ruby reads a book while laying on top of Jesse's freshly dug grave. Sarah accompanies Gigi to a beach house photo shoot directed by Jack. Jack stops the shoot to compliment Sarah. He fires a model and has Sarah replace her. Gigi gets sick during the shoot and retreats to a restroom. Sarah rushes to Gigi's aid and witnesses her regurgitate one of Jesse's eyeballs. Gigi really needs to chew her food properly. Now panicking, Gigi screams, "I need to get her out of me," and stabs herself to death with a pair of scissors. Barely fazed, Sarah eats the regurgitated eyeball and returns to the shoot as the film thankfully ends.